Hello and welcome to this Norbord, my cabinet guide video on how to assemble the 925 base cabinet in the IT range. You lay the box out. It's always best to assemble your unit on the cardboard. This protects the side panels and also the front edge if you need to turn your unit onto its side. In each box there is an assembly guide. Please take the time to read this as there is useful information on here that will help you to build your unit. It also tells you what items are in the box and the minimum tools required to get the job done. Inside the box you have your large base panel. This one has the extra holes for the feet, and it also has holes drilled in the leading edge. You have your two top rails. The front one has extra holes drilled in the side. This takes the small front rail. Then you have one of your side panels. This is one of the standard side panels. This is your large or thick back panel. It's machined and this goes into your groove in one of your side panels. One of your other standard side panels. And this on your assembly guide is panel number 3. It has the extra holes pre-drilled in the edge of the panel. We have your small front rail, your shelf. The shelf has the coffee bean print on both sides. Your small base panel, again with the extra holes for some legs. And the last panel in your box is your back panel. That's this one here. You have two bags within the unit. You have your fittings bag and you have your leg pack bag. When you first open your pack up, you'll find that two of the cams, and these are the cams, were separate. The cams that were separate are the 12mm ones, and they need to be kept apart from the 14mm ones. I'll explain why when we get to the point where you use them. So in your fittings pack, you have two 12mm cams. You have 16 14mm cams. You have 18 of the metal dowels. You have 20 of the wooden dowels. And here there are two 25mm screws, three 55mm screws. You have some joining straps here, and there's two of those. You also have the L brackets, and there's 5 of those. You have 4 hinges, plus 4 hinge plates. You have 5 shelf supports. And the last thing in the pack here are 63 15mm screws. I've laid my two side panels out, which are labelled 1 and 2 in the assembly guide. This gives me a left-hand side panel and a right-hand side panel. You can use a cordless screwdriver to put the fittings in on your unit, but we would recommend a handheld screwdriver because that way when you're putting the fittings in you can make sure you don't over-tighten them. Following the assembly guide, the right-hand side panel only needs 3 of the metal dowels put in it. The metal dowel has a red sleeve. There are 2 reasons for this. The first is when you're turning it with a screwdriver, you can hold on to it to make sure that it goes squarely into your panel. And the second is that it means that when you insert your other panel into it, it means that it's a lot tighter joint. The metal cam has 2 arrows. There is a directional arrow, and this arrow here should always line up with the hole that's in the panel you're putting it in. The way the cam and the dowel work together is when you actually put your panels together, it's like this, and what you do, you turn the cam and it locks the 2 panels together. So you turn the cam and it all pulls it nice and tight together. I've put 4 metal dowels in my rear back panel. I'm now going to put the 2 that are required in this edge here. As with all of the metal dowels, don't over tighten them. So I'll lay that one out. And the last thing on point 1 on my assembly guide is to put my 2 12mm cams into this panel here. So push them in, making sure that the arrow is pointing to the outside edge. If you put the cam in wrong, just turn it with the screwdriver until it's pointing to the right direction. Okay, so we put those panels to one side for a minute. So now I'm going to put the remaining metal dowels and the wooden dowels into the remaining panels, which are your base panels, your shelf and your rails. That's my shelf, this is my base panels, like so. So doing my shelf first. Okay, I'm now going to put the wooden dowels. They're 8mm in diameter and they go in the 8mm hole in the panel here. So I tap those in. When the sound changes, that's far enough in. Again on this side. There you go. So I take my small shelf and I put my cams in. 1, 2. Join the 2 parts together, like so. Tap it down. Tighten the cam up. Now I'm going to lay this panel out. The reason for that is I'm also now going to put the joining straps on. So the joining straps go on the same side as the cams, so when they're put in the unit, they're upside down and you can't see them. So I'm going to drill a quick hole. Remembering not to push too hard so I don't go through my panel. Taking my screwdriver and one of the 15mm screws, put it in. I fitted my metal cams in my small and large base panel. The last thing to do is to fit your wooden dowels into the small base panel. Now you must make sure you put this on the correct side. If you look at this, there is a different spacing between the metal cams, and you need to put your 3 wooden dowels in this side, which is the larger spacing between the 2 metal cams. Okay, so don't forget, as with all of these, when you tap this in, only tap it until the sound changes. Okay, so that's my large and small base panel completed. Taking your front top rail, that's the one with the extra holes drilled in the side, fit your metal dowel, like so. The wooden dowel actually goes in the end of the small top rail. So the last thing to do before I start assembling the unit is to put the wooden dowels in the end of my rails. So push them in and just tap them into position. It's 2 per rail. And that just leaves the last remaining 6 cams that need to be inserted, and then we're ready to build the unit up. So we're ready to start building the unit up now. So I lay my first panel out, which is the left-hand side panel that we completed earlier on, and then taking my large base panel, I place that on my panel, making sure that the coffee bean print is towards the inside and it's groove to groove. So we do that, like so. Push it down. Tighten the cam up as you go. So I now put my 2 front rails on, ensuring that the one with the metal dowel is towards the front of the unit and the cams always go towards the top, meaning that the coffee bean print is always on the inside. And put this one into position, push it down, tighten the cam up, and taking the second rail, put that one in as well, push down, tighten the cam. Okay, I fitted my 2 top rails and my base panel to my left-hand side panel. I'm now going to fit my rear end panel. And the rear end panel is the one with the extra metal dowel sticking out the edge. And tighten the cams. Turning the unit onto its back, I'm now going to fit the remaining panels. So I'm going to fit my small base panel to my large base panel, putting it on like so. Tap it down, tighten it up. The design of the unit means that the small base panel protrudes past the end of the rear end panel. So taking my solid back panel, this is the one where I put the 2 12mm cams in, fit it to my unit like so, and tighten the cams up. And the last thing to fit is my small front rail. So I'm going to fit my small front rail, put it on, and again tighten the cam up, like so. Taking my remaining end panel, and this is my right hand one, I fix it now. And tighten the cams. I'm going to stand my unit now back onto its base to enable me to fit the L bracket here. This holds your end panel and your back together. Now, using one of the L brackets and 2 of the 15mm screws, I'm going to put that in the corner here, and that holds this panel and this panel together. So drill a hole, don't put your hand behind in case you go through the panel. So that's now held those 2 parts together. Okay, you may need to break down the edging tape, and to do that you just put your back panel in like that. Repeat for the other side. Keeping the coffee bean print on the inside, slide your back panel down, ensuring that it's in the groove in the bottom. So you now need to fix your back panel into position. If you don't, it wobbles like this. And to do that, rule of thumb, put your hand there, put a mark, put your hand there, put a mark. This rail is 19mm thick, so if I put a mark in about here and about here, that's where I'm going to now drill and then fix it using 2 15mm screws. Once you've drilled your holes, just fix the back into position using 2 15mm screws. One, and that stops the back wobbling. Your leg pack consists of 7 leg bosses. The leg bosses are the part that goes into the bottom of your unit, and then the legs are inserted into them. You don't use all of the holes in your base panel. Following the assembly guide, you put 1, 2, 3, ensuring that this lug is over the end panels. So we then do this one. Working my way around the unit, one goes in here. The leg boss between the small and large base panels ensure that the lug goes over the large base panel. So tapping the lug in with a hammer until it's flush, like so. You repeat for all the other legs. So drilling 3 holes, 1, 2, 3. You drill 3 holes in every leg and then put the 15mm screws that you have remaining in. That holds the legs in position. Once you've done that, you then put your legs themselves in. Like that. The legs themselves have a little lug just here. This lug, when screwed in, gives you a measurement of 150mm from the floor to the underside of your unit. 150mm is the height of your plinth. So insert the leg, push it down. If you're not sure that you've actually pushed it all the way down, you can use your rubber part of a hammer and just tap it. If you need to adjust your unit up and down, the floor would be here, and what you would normally do is you would turn your leg like this. If you can't turn your leg or you need to do fine adjustment, you can put a screwdriver in here and you can adjust it using the screwdriver. Have a plinth clip here. You need to separate the 2 parts like so. You screw the plate here to the inside of your plinth. Once you're happy, you then slide the clip in like so. And when you stand your plinth up, it goes round the leg like this. Now, I would recommend that you separate the 2 parts and clip them to your front legs so you don't lose them. As I said earlier on, you need to put your shelf in before you put your work surface on. So this unit would have normally been fitted to the wall. It would be level with the units to its left and right. But for this purpose, I'm going to show you how to do this now. So taking your shelf that you've already joined together, you slide it into the unit like this. Okay, like so. I'm now going to fit my metal shelf supports and I'm going to put them in the centre of the end panels. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last 2, 5 and 6. Then taking my shelf, I lift it up, drop it over, and that's it fitted.